and the National Union of Students, and they went through some of the crisis of casual
Thank you,
employment.
Senator Sheldon. It now being 2 o'clock, we shall move to question time, and I call Senator Birmingham.
Thank you, President. It's been a while since I had the opportunity to ask a question. President, my question is to the Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry, Senator Watt. I refer to the Minister's 15 July announcement of additional technical expertise and support to Indonesia, Timor-Leste and Papua New Guinea. I ask the Minister, have biosecurity officers, departmental officials and non-departmental veterinarians been deployed to Indonesia, and if so, in which provinces? Have vaccines now been provided to Indonesia?
Thank you, Senator Birmingham. Senator Watt.
Thank you, President. And I thank the Leader of the Opposition for granting me the great honour of receiving the first question on behalf of the incoming Albanese government. And I thank him for asking this question because it is a very serious issue. As I have repeatedly stated, both publicly, in the media and in the briefing that I just provided to all MPs, including opposition MPs, about this very serious threat, this is something that the Albanese government is taking seriously. It's worth noting that this outbreak reached Indonesia prior to the election when the former government was in government. And we, of course, have now become responsible for supporting our friends in Indonesia to manage their outbreak, especially since that outbreak reached Bali. Now, Senator Birmingham has referred to announcements that I have made on behalf of the government as to assistance that we are providing our friends in Indonesia. That assistance includes 1 million vaccines for foot and mouth disease, along with a range of technical assistance, such as assistance in rolling out the vaccines, in improving laboratory testing capacity, and a range of other measures that the Indonesian government has advised us would be of assistance to them. We, as I have previously made public, we expect the vaccines to be delivered to Indonesia in August. They have been ordered. We expect them to arrive in August as previously announced. The offer has, as I say, been made to provide technical assistance. I'm aware that one of our biosecurity experts has already been liaising with Indonesian authorities, and that assistance will continue to be rolled out in partnership with the Indonesian government.
Thank you, Senator Watt. Senator Birmingham, first supplementary.
Thanks, President. I note the Minister has confirmed the government's intention to provide 1 million vaccinations to Indonesia, but has indicated they will not be provided until August. I ask the Minister again, have biosecurity officers, departmental officials and non-departmental veterinarians been deployed to Indonesia, and if so, in which provinces?
Senator Watt.
Thank you, President. I am aware that not only any veterinarian, but our country's Chief Veterinary Officer, Dr Mark Shipp, has personally been in Indonesia cooperating with the Indonesian government and their veterinary authorities to offer assistance, and that is ahead of the deployment of additional expertise. As some members opposite might know, when in government, when liaising with other governments, it's probably a good idea to do that in partnership with those governments and to work with them in a manner that works on the ground. So the Chief Vet was with me during my recent trip to Indonesia, where I met with the Indonesian Minister for Agriculture along with the head of the Disaster Management Authority, and I expect that the extra assistance that we have offered will be deployed as quickly as it possibly can in partnership with Indonesia.
Senator Birmingham, second supplementary.
Thanks, President. So, President, I note that none of the promised vaccinations have been provided to Indonesia yet, and none of the promised veterinarians or other support officials have been deployed to Indonesia yet. I ask the Minister, in relation to the aspect of his announcement for additional frontline biosecurity and industry preparedness measures in Australia, how many of the 18 new biosecurity officers are currently operational and at which airports?
Thank you. Senator Watt.
Thanks, President. Before I directly answer Senator Birmingham's question, I want to pick up this point that he keeps making about vaccines. As you may be aware, when the Prime Minister visited Indonesia shortly after the election, he made an offer of vaccines to the Indonesian government. At that point in time, they decided, as is their sovereign right, that they would obtain those vaccines elsewhere for the time being and would begin a domestic production program around vaccines. We have, of course, since offered 1 million vaccines that have been accepted. They have been ordered. They will be provided to Indonesia in August. And in terms of biosecurity officers, I'll get you the exact number, but my advice is that they have begun being rolled out into airports and mail centres now. While I've got 10 seconds left, I do want to make the point that those biosecurity officers will not only be deployed into airports, they will be deployed into mail centres as well, because the mail centres are the highest risk we have.
Thank you. And order. 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 And Senator Watt, I am clarifying that you've taken a portion of Senator Birmingham's question on notice. Senator Walsh.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. In May, the Australian people voted for a Labor government with real plans to build a better future. Can the Minister update the Senate on how the government is working towards that goal?
Senator Wong.
Thank you very much, President, and thank you to Senator Walsh for the question. Rare to get an interjection on Adixa, but I know it's early days in the process of dealing with the change of government on that side. I would say this: as we start this new term, I hope all of us in this chamber recognise the privilege that with which we have been entrusted in whichever roles we have, and that is no less than the opportunity to change people's lives for the better. And those of us on this side of the chamber understand that good government can do this. Good government can keep us safe. Good government can provide help to those who need it, support when times get tough. And importantly, good government can open the doors of opportunity. And if you listen to the remarkable first speeches that we've been hearing in the House from such a diverse, fantastic group of new Labor MPs, and look forward to our new senators as well, you hear the stories of the extent to which Labor governments have changed people's lives for the better, have enabled opportunities to be opened to people for their betterment. You see, good government can enable aspiration. It can enable people to achieve their dreams. So 9 weeks ago, Australians did vote for good government. They voted for a better future. Labor's come to office at a time of great uncertainty. And we've got some inheritance from the other side. They might not like to hear it, but it includes $1 trillion of debt from a government that wasted 10 years. It includes rising cost of living. It includes low wages growth, low wages growth. It includes climate change and its devastating impact. It's devastating impact, which they're still having a fight about.
Thank you, Senator Wong. Your time has expired. Senator Walsh, first supplementary.
How is the Albanese government planning for the future?
Senator Wong.
Well, thank you, President. Well, Labor's not wasted a day in securing a better future. And one of the reasons, one of the things that is critical to a better future is, of course, to deal with climate change. And I know those opposite are still whirling around in their division on this issue, despite losing so many seats. So many seats. No, they're not. Well, you lost seats to the Teals. You lost seats to the Teals. You lost seats to the Teals because the centre of mainstream Australia want action on climate change. Now, we have already formally updated Australia's nationally determined contribution under the Paris Agreement, a 43% reduction in emissions, and we're introducing legislation to make it law. And I'd say this to the opposition and it's not just the right thing to do for our climate, it's an economic opportunity, and Australians understand that.
Thank you, Senator Wong. Senator Walsh, your second supplementary.
Thank you, President. How is the Albanese government making sure that nobody is held back and nobody is left behind?
Senator Wong.
Thank you. The Albanese Labor government wants to make sure Australians get the opportunities they deserve. We want to make sure Australians get the opportunities that they deserve. We want to bring people together. We want to unite Australia.
Order.
We've announced the Jobs and Skills Summit, and today we're introducing a bill to create Jobs and Skills Australia because we want to make sure Australians can get the skills employers want. And good governments can also make sure that the most vulnerable Australians are not left behind. We know that those in aged care and those opposite really should hang their heads in shame about how this was dealt with. COVID took a devastating toll on Australians in aged care and their families. And we know that aged care was in crisis well before the pandemic struck. I'm unsurprised that the interjections have stopped, because it was a decade of neglect under those opposite. We are beginning the work of fixing aged care.
Your time has expired. Senator McKenzie.
Thank you very much, Madam President. My question is to the Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries, Forestry, Senator Watt. How many passengers have passed through Australian international airports from Indonesia since the foot-and-mouth outbreak was reported in Bali on the 5th of July 2022?
Thank you, Senator McKenzie. Senator Watt.
Thank you, President. Again, I'm very happy to provide the exact number to the Minister.
Order. 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 Order.
Wow.
Senator Watt. Senator Watt, resume your seat, please. Order. Thank you. Senator Watt, please continue.
I know it hurts. I know it hurts being over there, and I know it's going to hurt for a long time. What hurts? No.
Senator Watt, resume your seat. Order. Please allow the Minister to answer the question. Senator Watt.
What hurts our agriculture industry more, President, is the hysteria that we continue to see on display from the opposition in relation to this very important issue.
Senator Watt, please resume your seat. Senator Birmingham.
Thanks, President. There was only one question asked. That was how many passengers have passed through Australian international airports since from Indonesia since the foot-and-mouth outbreak was reported in Bali. Senator Watt has taken that on notice already, President. It appears now he is moving simply to make political points. He's addressed the question by taking it on notice, and there's nothing further to add, clearly.
Thank you, Senator Birmingham. Order, I believe. Order. Senator Wong.
On that point of order, but I would observe.
Order. Order. I have called Senator Wong on a point of order. I'm asking senators to be silent. Senator Wong.
Thank you, President. I think there is precedent, but obviously you will take advice from the clerk in the previous parliament, where even if a minister has taken on notice, responding to some of the substance of what was put subsequently, he's entitled to do that, and that was the practice under the previous government and the previous president.
Thank you, Senators Birmingham and Wong. I will remind Senator Watt to address his remarks to the question. He's taken some of it on notice, but he may be able to. Order. Order. Senator Watt? Do you wish to raise a point of order, Senator McKenzie? Okay, Senator Watt, please continue.
Thank you. I wanted to check this number to make sure I was giving accurate information to the chamber, and the number is 23,600 air travellers.
Senator Watt?
23,600 numbers.
Senator Watt, please resume your seat. I would ask all senators, if I am directing a senator or senators to do something in particular, to please do that. I was trying to get Senator Watt to sit down so I could listen to Senator McKenzie's reason for standing up, but I wasn't able to do that because there was too much noise. Senator Mackenzie.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to raise a point of order, and if it isn't a technical point of order, I'd ask you to rule on this. Senator Watt answered the question by taking it on notice. He therefore ended his answer. I would like a ruling from you on this.
Senator Watt, please resume your seat. When there's silence, I will answer that response. The question was asked about a specific number, which, as you're correct, Senator Watt took on notice, but he's now been supplied with that, and in the same way that other ministers would have, he's now informing the Senate of that number. Senator Watt, please continue.
Thank you, President. As I say, the number of passengers arriving by air from Indonesia last week was 23,600. Of those, 21,948 air travellers were returning from Bali, so about 90-odd%. I think one of the pleasing aspects of this is that the efforts of our biosecurity officers over the weekend, it's disappointing that Senator Mackenzie doesn't want...
Senator Mackenzie.
I'm just seeking clarification, Chair,
Sure.
Madam President. He gave us last week's Bali numbers. I asked for the passengers from the 5th of July, once the outbreak in Bali was actually notified to Australia. So is he going to take on notice the parts he couldn't answer, or
Senator
is that
Mackenzie,
his answer?
Senator Watt was, I think, answering the question. I don't think he got to the end of it, but I'll entertain. So let's get him to the end of it and see where we end up. Senator McGrath.
I would ask the Minister to table the document that he's clearly reading from. Will you table it? And could he table his phone also, please? Thank you.
Senator McGrath. Senator Watt, please continue.
Well, it's disappointing that senators up want to ridicule such a serious matter. The number of passengers...
Order. Senator Watt, please.
I'm trying to help.
Senator
I'm trying to
Watt.
give you information.
Senator McGrath.
I am asking for the Minister to table the document.
And the minister's agreed to table the document.
Has the Minister agreed to table the document? I didn't hear the Minister say. Have you tabled the document?
Senators, order. Senator McGrath, please resume your seat. Senator McGrath, I've asked you to sit down. Thank you. I understood, and I will clarify, Senator Watt has agreed to table the document. Senator Watt, please resume answering the question.
I'll take that request on notice.
Thank you.
But turning to that, if Senator Mackenzie would like the information that she's asked for, I'm happy to provide it. The week commencing the 4th of July this year, 20,404 passengers returned or entered Australia from Indonesia, 92.7% of which were from Bali. 23,600 the following week, the week commencing the 11th of July, and the most updated figures that I have are the ones that I've already given. The pleasing thing about the numbers, when you dig into them further, is that we are seeing an increased level of compliance from passengers, which shows that they are listening to the accurate, non-alarmist information that is being put out by this government, as opposed to the alarmist rhetoric coming from the opposition, which is rejected roundly by industry.
Thank you, Senator Watt. Senator Mackenzie, first supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. Of how many of these passengers that have passed through Australian international airports from Indonesia have been treated with disinfected foot mats on arrival?
Thank you, Senator Mackenzie. Senator Watt.
Well, if I assume that Senator Mackenzie has been following this, and if she has, she would know that the sanitised foot mats started being installed in international airports on Monday this week, and that was completed yesterday. I might point out, by the way, that this is the first time in our history that we have seen sanitised foot mats put across every international airport in the country. We never saw the former government do this in any airports when there were outbreaks in Vietnam, in China, in Indonesia, in Malaysia, in South Africa and every other country.
Resume your seat. Senator Mackenzie.
My point of order is on relevance. I was very clear in my question. Now that he's found the numbers of how many passengers from the 5th of July, and I'd also like to thank his staff for that, how many have actually, of those tens of thousands of passengers returning from Bali have actually been treated to not if the mats are rolled out or not, how many passengers have actually gone through appropriate biosecurity measures on our borders?
Thank you, Senator McKenzie. I'll allow Senator Watt to continue to answer your question.
Thanks, President. It is unfortunate that Senator McKenzie didn't stay for the entire briefing that I just provided to all MPs. If she had done that, she would have heard one of our biosecurity officials say that the answer was 100%. 100% of passengers have been walking through sanitised footmats. Well,
Senator Watt, please resume your seat. Senator McKenzie.
I thought the questions were very clear, simple, one sentence apiece. The question, relevance,
yes,
Madam
and
President.
I've answered that. Senator McKenzie, please resume your seat. Senator Wong.
Well,
I have. Senator Wong, please resume your seat. Senator McKenzie, I understood that you took a point of order on relevance. Thank you. We will allow. No, I've taken your point of order. Please resume your seat. Senator McKenzie, I've asked you to resume your seat. Senator Watt, the question was how many passengers. If you could continue.
Well,
thank you.
I've answered the question. 100% have done so. And I might point out, when this outbreak got to Indonesia, the former government put down no sanitised footmats and had no passengers
Senator
walking
Watt.
across them. Absolutely.
Senator Watt. Thank you. Senators, before I call Senator McKenzie, order. Or Senator McGrath. I will point out that the level of interjection is disorderly, and I would ask you to respect the person asking the question and answering. Senator McKenzie, your second supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. In the 48 hours following the establishment of the biosecurity response zones on 12 midnight Friday the 22nd of July, how many footmats were actually operational in Australian international airports for passengers inbound from Indonesia?
Thank you, Senator McKenzie. Senator Watt.
Well, as I answered in my previous answer, the footmats were rolled out and installed in every international airport in Australia on Monday and Tuesday this week. Again, I point out that that compares to 0 sanitised footmats that were
Senator
ever
Watt.
rolled out by the former
Senator
government
Watt.
when there were outbreaks in every number of countries.
Senator Watt, I don't want to have to call you 5 times before you respond. Senator McKenzie is on her feet on a point of order. I expect you to sit down. Thank you. Senator McKenzie.
Thank you, Madam President. My point of order is on relevance. I was going to when the biosecurity response zones were actually established at 12 midnight on Friday the 22nd of July. How many footmats were actually operational?
Thank you, Senator McKenzie. I will draw Senator Watt back to the question. And I now have Senator Wong on the point of order.
sorry. All right.
Order.
No.
Order. Senator Watt, did you wish to pursue?
As I understand that.
Senator McGrath.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I will ask you
on
to
the
be
on the
silent.
point of order, and I just on the point of order, as I understand, Senator McKenzie made a point of order. I'd make this point: a point of order is not a debating point. Senator McKenzie is at the moment. Yeah, well, you know, that's life. That's life. We have our roles in this democracy, don't we? We all understand them. Senator McKenzie.
That's the first sensible interjection on that side of the
Order.
Would you like to take a point of order? Then maybe I can have mine. Thank you. I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Senator McKenzie is engaging in debating points. Now, she's entitled to those points. There's an opportunity for her after this to do so, but it is not a point of order on relevance to tell the minister that because he's given a different date to the one she's identified in response to the answer, that somehow is not relevant.
Thank you, Senator Wong. Senator Watt, you have 40 seconds remaining.
Thank you, President. I don't know if I can be any more clear as to when the mats were put down, but I thank Senator McKenzie for bringing to the attention of the chamber one of the other pioneering measures put in place by this government, which has never been done by any other government in this country, including the former government, and that is the establishment of biosecurity response zones in our international airports. I have repeatedly said that the response of this government has been the strongest biosecurity response we've ever
Senator
seen.
Watt, please resume your seat. Senator McKenzie.
The biosecurity response zone was established.
McKenzie,
How
Senator
many mats were in
McKenzie, order.
place?
Resume your seat. Resume your seat. If you are calling a point of order, you need to be immediately relevant to that point, not to debate it. So is there a point of order? Thank you. Senator Watt.
So, as I say, this government is doing more than any government has ever done about any foot and mouth outbreak across the country. Sanitised foot mats, biosecurity response zones, more biosecurity officers. You
Senator
did nothing.
Watt,
We're picking up the slack.
Has expired. Thank you. Order. Senator Waters.
Thanks very much, President. My question is to the Leader of the Government representing the Minister for Climate Change and Energy. The International Energy Agency has said that not one new coal or gas project can be opened up if we are to stabilise temperatures at 1.5 degrees, or even if we are to reach the government's target of net zero by 2050. Will the government continue the Morrison government's policy of subsidising new coal and gas projects with public money?
Thank you, Senator Waters. Senator Wong.
I apologise, I'm a little slow on getting the document to the table. Can I start? No, it's my arm and a broken shoulder, mate, all right? So how about the joke? Can I be clear? I do understand that in relation to coal there is a difference between the Greens political party and others in this chamber, and there is a difference between the position the Greens articulate and the position that is adopted by the international community under the UNFCCC, where the contribution of nations to the objective of reducing emissions is predicated on reducing one's domestic emissions. Now, it is the case that under the government that we've seen over the last 10 years, we saw, I think it was 22 energy policies. None were adopted because obviously there is a strong view within their party room as to contesting the issue of climate, which we still see. But the reality is that the Labor government was elected with a very clear commitment to reduce emissions for Australia by 43% by 2030. That is the position we are taking. I know you have raised this issue of moratorium publicly. It's been your political position for some time. As I've said yes, and yeah, it is a position that the Greens political party have been putting for some time. I understand that is your position. The position of the government is that we are taking a far more... Oh, really?
Order. Order.
I love many things, but, you know...
Senator Wong, please resume your seat. Senator Waters. Order. Senator Waters.
President, just a point of order on relevance. The question went to whether or not public funding of new coal and gas mines will continue under this government.
There was also a preamble, so I think Senator Wong is being broadly relevant. Senator Wong.
As I said, the government's position on coal mines is that they will be assessed in accordance with the existing law.
Senator Waters, first supplementary.
Thanks, President. The burning and extracting of coal and gas is the biggest cause of the climate crisis, which threatens all Australians. Given the first responsibility of government is to keep its citizens safe, why is the government supporting opening 114 new coal and gas projects, which will turbocharge floods and bushfires?
Thank you, Senator Waters. Senator Wong.
The government is being consistent with the commitments it took to the election and the commitments that the Australian people were well aware of when they voted in the election, which led to the result of an Albanese Labor government. We will reduce Australia's emissions by 43% by 2030. It is an ambitious target. It has a range of very positive consequences, including, I think it's in excess of 80%, around 82% of our electricity grid will be powered by renewables by the same time. In relation to those projects, they will be assessed in accordance with the existing with the relevant environmental approval frameworks. And that is also the position the Labor government, the Labor Party, took to the last election. I understand this is a political campaigning issue for the Greens. I saw that. No, it is. But it is not the position of the international community in terms
Senator
of how
Wong,
we
your time
operate
has
in the
expired.
UNF.
Senator Waters, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. Will the government continue the Morrison government's policy of subsidising new coal and gas projects with public money?
Senator Wong.
Thank you, President. I'm unclear as to which subsidies Senator Waters is. Well,
order.
Well, I'm really tempted to take that interjection, but I will not. I'm not sure which of the sort of I'm not sure which rebate arrangement or other tax arrangement the Senate Leader of the Greens, sorry, yes, that's right, Leader of the Greens in the Senate is
order. Order.
No, I'm just...
Order. Senator Wong, please continue.
Thank you, President. I'm not sure to which the Greens leader is referring to, and if she wants to indicate to me a particular rebate that she's asking whether the government has a view about, I will certainly refer that to the Treasurer.
Thank you,
I would
Senator Wong.
anticipate
Your time
that the
has
answer
expired.
is unlikely.
Senator Sheldon.
My question is to the Minister representing the Treasurer, Senator Gallagher. Can the Minister update the Senate on the latest inflation data that was released today?
Sorry, Senator Gallagher.
Thank you, President. Thanks, Senator Sheldon, for the question. Today's ABS release of the Consumer Price Index for the June quarter 2022 has shown that inflation has increased by 6.1% over the past year, 1.8% in the June quarter, and it reinforces the difficult cost of living challenge for Australian households. Today's news will be very confronting to many households around the country who are already feeling the pinch of finding extra dollars for the increasing costs of living. Now, we've been upfront with Australians since moving into government. We inherited a very challenging set of economic circumstances, rising inflation, rising interest rates, low wage growth, and 9 years of failed policy agenda, particularly in the area of energy, but we no doubt through the course of question time we'll be able to list many more of those failures. But this is the major economic challenge facing the new government. It will be challenging for households and in the months ahead, but we are determined, working hard every day to look at ways to ease pressure on households, ensure that household incomes can keep up with some of those rising costs. Today's data shows that the most significant rises were in new dwelling purchases by owner-occupiers, 5.6%, and in fuel, 4.2%, and furniture at 7%. Annual trimmed mean inflation increased to 4.9%. Australians know inflation is high and getting higher. They feel it every day, and they don't need the ABS data set to tell them that. They see it when they're in the supermarket, when they're filling the car up, or when they're paying their bills. The difficult reality is inflation is predicted to get worse before it gets better.
Thank you, Senator Gallagher. Your time has expired. Senator Sheldon, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. What are some of the factors contributing to higher inflation in recent months, and what can be done to tackle inflationary pressures?
Senator Gallagher.
Thank you, President, and I thank Senator Sheldon for the supplementary. There are a number of factors contributing to higher prices and increasing inflation. Obviously, some of these are international, such as Russia's invasion of Ukraine hitting grain and oil prices, and China's COVID suppression strategy hitting supply chains, which any of us who've engaged with business or indeed tried to engage business in the last year or so understand the impact that those effects on the supply chains are having. There are domestic pressures, though, as well, so natural disasters like floods and the new COVID waves here in Australia, all of this is having an impact, and those are really unavoidable to a certain degree. But there are other areas, I think, where 9 years of policy failure from the previous government has left us exposed. I'll give you three before I sit down. Energy, skills and suppressing wages.
Thank
None
you,
of that's
Senator
helpful.
Gallagher. Senator Sheldon, second supplementary.
Thank you. Can the Minister outline what the government is doing to help ease the cost of living pressures for Australians?
Senator Gallagher.
Thank you. I know you're all going to listen in absolute silence. Australians know that high and rising inflation has been made worse by the decade of wasted opportunity and bad government from those sitting over there. The Albanese government's economic plan is a direct response to the economic problems left to us. High and rising inflation, flatlining productivity. I can get louder and louder if they get louder and louder. I have to.
Resume your seat. I would ask that senators listen in a much quieter manner. There is a fair amount of disorderly noise in the chamber. Senator Gallagher.
Thank you, President, for that protection. Our plan includes cost of living relief in the form of cheaper childcare, cheaper medicines, our plan on cleaner and cheaper energy to put downward pressure on power prices. This really is the most symbolic policy failure, I think, of this government was 22 failed energy policies, an energy crisis at the point that the government was changed because of your failure, and households have paid for that. They've paid for that with rising costs, and we want to put downward pressure on all of those costs and be honest with households.
Thank you, Senator Gallagher. Your time has expired. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam President. Before my time starts, I'd like to seek leave to obtain your clarification on a matter.
Is leave granted? I believe leave is granted, Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam President. The behaviour we've seen this afternoon in question time shows complete disrespect for the people of Australia. I've been told by both sides of parliament that it's about theatrics. We're here as representatives of the people, not as entertainers. Could you please clarify, Madam President, your expectations as President and your powers to do something about this, or do we simply rely on the senator's respect for the people?
Thank you, Senator Roberts. Order. Order. Senators gave Senator Roberts an opportunity to seek leave to ask a clarification. Please listen for the answer. As many other presidents before me have, expressed the desire for senators to listen in an orderly fashion and to not be too rowdy in their responses, I will continue to do the same, and I will do my utmost to keep the chamber fairly orderly during question time. Thank you, Senator Roberts. And your question is? My question is to the Minister for Agriculture, Senator Watt. Thank you for your briefing this afternoon, Senator Watt, on foot and mouth disease. Minister, if foot and mouth disease does enter Australia, the short-term response would be to start vaccination. Now, Food and Safety Australia and New Zealand says vaccines are safe for human consumption. So having said that, Australia owns foot and mouth disease vaccines located in the United Kingdom. How many vaccines does Australia own in the United Kingdom? Thank you, Senator Roberts. Senator Watt.
Thank you, Senator Roberts, and I'm pleased you were able to come along to that briefing. The feedback I had was that it was very informative for the members who attended. And we are approaching this in a bipartisan manner, and we would welcome the opposition joining us in that, as I know you are, Senator Roberts. Just to pick you up on one point,
Order. Order. Senator Watt.
Thank you, President. Just to pick you up on one point, if, God forbid, foot and mouth disease were to enter Australia, despite the measures that we are putting in place, we have a well-developed plan known as the AUSVET plan, which is prepared between the federal government, states and territories about how we respond to biosecurity outbreaks. Biosecurity outbreaks are managed and led by state governments with the support of federal governments, and we've seen that occur in relation to the Varroamite outbreak recently, where we've been supporting the New South Wales government. The point about vaccines is that the biosecurity advice that I have received is that we would not immediately devaccinate all livestock or even a large segment of livestock immediately in Australia, and that's because
Order.
if you vaccinate your livestock, it's unfortunate that the opposition don't want to understand and listen to the measures of preparing for the outbreak. The reason you don't vaccinate, Senator Roberts, is that you are then deemed by the rest of the world as having foot and mouth disease, and that is what then prevents the export of our product overseas. It's effectively the same as having the outbreak here when you vaccinate. The idea would be that in the first instance you would impose a 72-hour livestock standstill to limit the movement of animals, and only if the outbreak got further would you consider vaccines. My advice, and I'll get this checked, is that we have approximately 1 million vaccines available to us on a stockpile, and they are available within 1 week's notice.
Thank you, Senator Watt. Senator Roberts, first supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. Minister, we have 25 million cattle and 2.5 million pigs. How is 1 million enough?
Senator Watt.
Thank you, President. Well, as I say, Senator Roberts, the first move, should we have an outbreak here, is not to just run out and vaccinate every head of cattle, every head of sheep, pigs or goats across the country, or buffaloes for that matter. What we would actually do is to try to control the outbreak in the localised area that it is, so that it didn't spread further afield. If it did spread further afield, that's when we would look to vaccinations as an alternative. It is not the only alternative that we would have, but it is certainly one, and we would be able to access other vaccines at very short notice. What we are actually prioritising in relation to the supply of vaccines at the moment is providing them to Indonesia. And the reason we're doing that is because if we can bring that outbreak under control in Indonesia, that is not only in their national interest, it is in our national interest. We have continued to have very productive discussions with the Indonesian government about what other vaccines and other assistance that we can provide, but my priority right now is keeping the disease out, and that's why we want to support the vaccine rollout in Indonesia.
Thank you, Senator Watt. Senator Roberts, second supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. Why are these vaccines not already in Australia? We're one of the largest cattle and related product producers in the world. Speed of response is critical to protecting our biosecurity. Why are these not being brought to Australia now as a precaution?
Senator Watt.
Thank you, Senator Roberts. As I say, vaccination is not the first measure that you would undertake if there was an outbreak, but there are a couple of other reasons for why we haven't got those vaccines here now. The first of which, there are sometimes issues about the bringing in of live virus into a country, and the responsible members of the opposition understand this. In addition, though, we don't necessarily know what strain of the disease we would have in Australia, and we want to make sure that the vaccines that we obtain will actually be effective for the strain of the virus that we would get if we were to get it. In fact, some of the technical support that we have started providing to Indonesia, it was actually to help them diagnose the strain of virus that they had, so that we could then go out and procure the vaccines that would deal with that particular strain. There's no point sending vaccines to people if they don't work for a particular strain of the virus, and we would need a little bit of time to diagnose the strain that we have here in Australia, so that we could then very quickly obtain the correct vaccines to deal with the version of the virus that we got.
Thank you, Senator Watt. Senator Cash.
Thank you, Madam President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Employment and Workplace Relations, Senator Watt. At a press conference on the 5th of June this year, the Prime Minister declared, "This is a government that I lead that will be consultative, that will work with business. There's a new show in town." What consultation did the Minister have with the construction industry and/or the Australian Building and Construction Commission prior to and in relation to the snap announcement on Sunday, the 24th of July, 2022 that the ABCC, in its powers, will be pulled back to the bare legal minimum as of yesterday.
Thank you, Senator Cash. Senator Watt.
Thank you, President. Now, I did a fair amount of preparation for question time, and I anticipated the kind of questions that I might receive from the opposition. But never in my wildest dreams did I hope that I would get a question from Senator Cash about lawlessness and the rule of law when it comes to industrial relations. But there you go. There you go. We've had it. Now, it is well understood that this government consulted prior to the election about its policy in relation to the ABCC. What is also well understood about the ABCC is that it has been an utterly ineffective organisation.
Please resume your seat. Senator Cash.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise on a point of order in relation to direct relevance. The question was quite specific. It was not in relation to the abolition of the ABCC. It was in relation to the announcement on insiders on Sunday the 24th
Senator
of July.
Cash, the practice is not to repeat the question.
It is a very concise question, Madam President, and the Minister is in no way being directly relevant.
You used the words in your initial part of your question as consultative with business, and then you went specifically to the ABCC, and Senator Watt is, I think, presently describing the consultative piece, so I think he is being broadly relevant, but I shall continue to listen carefully. Thank you, Senator Watt.
Thank you, President. As I say, I don't think that it could have come to any surprise of anyone in the building industry or anyone in the opposition that this government's agenda was to abolish the ABCC. And why is that? That is because we have seen a gross waste of taxpayers' funds prosecuting workers for stickers on their helmets and flags on their worksite. This organisation has spent nearly $500,000 pursuing Lend-Lease over the display of Eureka flags.
Please resume your seat. Senator Cash.
Thank you, Madam President. And again, in relation to direct relevance, it is very clear that the Minister is not going anywhere near the actual question. The question, as I stated, was in relation to a specific announcement on a specific day that came into effect yesterday.
Thank you,
in relation to your previous ruling, if that is to stand, I would ask you to review it tonight and report back to the chamber
Senator
tomorrow.
Cash, please resume your seat. I can't direct the minister to answer your questions. I can ensure that the minister is relevant to the points that you've outlined in your question, and I believe that Senator Watt is being relevant. I am listening carefully, and if he's not being relevant, I will draw him back to the broad basis of your question, which went to consultation, business, the construction industry and the ABCC. Senator Watt.
Thank you, President. As I said at the outset of my answer, there was wide consultation across the industry before the election about the policy, and I understand. It may come as a shock to people in Australia to have a government that delivers on its election promises, because of
Senator
course, Senator Cash.
Please resume your seat. Order. 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 You are being disorderly. Please allow the minister to continue to answer the question. Senator Watt.
Thank you, President. As I say, it may come as a shock to the people of Australia to have a government that delivers its election promises, because of course that stands in great contrast to the former government, one of whose leaders was Senator Cash, who promised an independent corruption commission and never got around to doing it. Unlike that, we are delivering on our promises.
Senator Brockman.
President, on direct relevance, there have been repeated rulings of this place, which you know very well, which say that the minister should not use the opportunity to attack those opposite. That is exactly what the minister is doing. And Senator Wong, order.
Senator Brockman, please resume your seat. Thank you. Please resume your seat. Senator White, I would remind you to come back to the question that Senator Cash asked. Thank you, Senator Watt.
Thank you, President. As I say, We have widely consulted about our policy. We went to the election saying that we would do the policy. We are now delivering our policy. And as I say, I for one am shocked that Senator Cash, of all people, would come in here, ask questions about workplace laws and workplace lawlessness when she—
Please resume your seat. Senator McGrath, sorry, Senator Cash, please resume your seat. I'll come back to you. Senator McGrath, you are constantly interjecting in a very loud manner to the point that I have to keep sitting the minister down. I would ask you to refrain from doing that. Senator Cash.
Thank you, Mr. President, Madam President. And again, in relation to a point of order on direct relevance, again, I did not ask a question about the Labor Party's decision to abolish the ABCC. I asked a very specific question in relation to a very specific decision that came into force yesterday. And again, in relation to your previous ruling— Thank you, Madam President. In relation to your previous rulings, I would ask you to reconsider them and report back to the Senate tomorrow.
Thank you, Senator Cash. I don't intend at this point to review my rulings. I have asked Senator Watt to be direct. Your question contained the words consult and business, and that is what Senator Watt was just outlining when I had to sit him down because of the disorderly nature of the Senate, and then I entertained your point of order. So Senator Watt was being directly relevant about the consultation. Senator Watt.
Thank you, President. Now, as I say, I'm heartened that all of a sudden Senator Cash thinks that consultation is important or giving people a heads-up is important. I don't remember her or her office giving the AWU a heads-up before they leaked the media the police raid on their offices. I don't remember them giving the AFP a heads-up before they leaked their raid to the media and put those police officers in danger.
Just a moment, Senator Brockman. Please resume your seat. Senator McGrath, I have specifically called you out for being disorderly, and you've completely ignored me and continued to be disorderly. I would ask you to respect my ruling when I ask you to just tone it down a slight decibel or two. Senator Brockman.
Point of order on direct relevance. Minister Watt is clearly ignoring your instruction to return to the question.
Senator Brockman, he is not. He is being directly relevant. Thank you. Senator Watt, please resume your 5 seconds.
Thank you. I am advised that since the election there has been further consultation with the National Workplace Relations Consultative Council.
Thank you, Senator Watt. Your time has expired. Senator Cash, first
Thank you, Madam President. A supplementary question. In relation to the announcement on Sunday, what consultation did the minister have with the CFMMEU, the ACTU and or any other union prior to and in relation to that announcement?
Thank you, Senator Cash. Senator Watt.
Well, of course, I will have to take the specific question on notice, not being the minister. Well, it's not my portfolio. I've been a little busy on foot and mouth disease.
Order.
No.
Order.
What I do know is that since the election, there has been further consultation about our policy to abolish the ABCC with the National Workplace Relations Consultative Council, which not only includes unions but includes business representatives. It includes the Small Business Council and Master Builders, among other organisations, the Australian Industry Group as well.
Senator Watt, please resume your seat. Senator Cash.
Again, on a point of order in relation to relevance, the minister has taken the question on notice. He has advised the chamber he is not the relevant minister and as such needs to consult with the relevant minister. In relation to any further commentary, it is not relevant in relation— I said that up front.
All right, thank you. Please resume your seat. Thank you. Senator Wong.
Thank you, President. Well, on the point of order, I made the same point of order that I made earlier, that the point of order that the Deputy Leader of the Opposition has made is erroneous. It is not correct that when a minister takes part or some of a question on notice, that minister cannot then address substance of the question. And that has been consistent, and maybe Senator Brockman might wish to stand up and confirm that that is the case if he wishes to engage in a point of order as the case. But the point of order is misconceived.
Thank you, Senator Watt. Just a moment, Senator Cash, please resume your seat. Cash.
The substance of the question, as has been referred to by the Leader of the Government, is actually in relation to the specific announcement on Sunday. It is not a wide-ranging substance.
Cash,
it is the announcement on Sunday.
If you have a point, Senator Wong, if you have a point of order, please make it to me and not to Senator Wong. But I'm assuming you are talking about relevance. My understanding. Thank you. I understand that Senator Watt can continue to be directly relevant to the question you've asked. He's taken some of it on notice and explained, well, he's taken the substantive nature of it on notice and explained that he is not the actual minister. Senator Watt, if you wish to continue.
Thank you, President. Now, I know the concept of consulting unions, again, is something that is foreign to the opposition, something that they never did in government. But
Senator Watt,
unlike the opposition, this government consults both business and industry groups and unions. We see that there is a place for both in the workplace relations system, and that's why, as I say, the advice I've received is that we have continued to consult the National Workplace Relations Council since the election.
Your time has expired. Senator Cash, second supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. Does the minister believe that the courts were wrong when they found the CFMMEU were in breach of industrial laws on the 80 occasions the ABCC brought an action against the union and were successful? Is he questioning the independence of our judiciary?
Senator Watt.
Thank you, President. Well, unlike Senator Cash, I never question the independence of our judiciary, and I don't grossly politicise judicial-type bodies like Senator Cash did among her colleagues with the AAT, for instance. We do believe in an independent judiciary, and I have no reason to disagree with any decision of any court. But what I do know, again, is that I am absolutely gobsmacked that Senator Cash, of all people, would come into this chamber and talk about lawlessness, the rule of law and compliance with the law, when her office infamously leaked a police raid on the AWU and was caught.
Senator Watt, please resume your seat. Senator Birmingham.
President, a point of order on a matter of relevance. And the standing orders are very clear about the need for direct relevance. Senator Watt, on this occasion, is straying well beyond any relevance to the question that was posed.
I'll remind the Senator.
Clearly reflecting upon another senator in this place and reflecting upon actions of a previous government not being relevant.
Thank you,
to this
Senator
question.
Birmingham. I'll remind Senator Watt to be directly relevant to the question, which was about the judicial system and the CFMEU.
I'll leave it for you to rule, President, but I think that I was directly relevant to the initial question. And as I say, all I can say is that of every single person over on that side, and I know there's not as many as there used to be, there is no one less qualified to talk about the independence of the judiciary, about the rule of law or about lawlessness than Senator Cash. She became notorious across this country for ignoring the rule of law, for her office leaking police information to the media.
Senator Birmingham.
Again, President, Senator Watt is reflecting on another senator in this place. Senator Watt is not being relevant to the question, which relates to the actions of the ABCC on 80 occasions successfully bringing proceedings
and it's not
to court.
Appropriate,
he is making
Senator
general
Birmingham,
reflections.
to repeat the question.
I wasn't repeating the whole question,
I understand
President.
your point is on relevance about the answer that Senator Watt's giving, and that's what I'll consider. Thank you. Senator Wong.
On the point of order, if the assertion is that there have been reflections on a senator, Senator Cash has an opportunity under the standing orders to remedy that, and if she wishes to take that, we'll be very happy to facilitate that discussion.
Thank you, Senator Wong. Sit down, please, Senator. Senator McGrath, please resume your seat. Please resume your seat. Please resume your seat. Senator McGrath, please resume your seat. Thank you. Rich. So I'm going to go to the point raised by Senator Birmingham on the issue of direct relevance. And if Senator Watt was straying, and I think he was, he does need to be directly relevant. Senator McGrath, if your point of order, and I would appreciate it in future when I asked you to sit. I made no decision back to you whether I would entertain your point of order or not. If your point of order is different to that, I would ask you to raise that now.
I would like Senator Watt, on the point of order, to withdraw the comment that he made about Senator Cash.
Thank you, Senator McGrath. That is not. He made no assertion directly about the Senate. Senator Watt.
Well, may I seek clarification?
Order.
Is the item that you would like me to withdraw that there is no one less qualified on your
Watt,
side to talk about
Senator
lawlessness?
Watt, Senator Watt, please resume your seat. Senator McGrath. Order. Order. Senator Wong.
I am unclear because what is being sought, and if Senator Cash is asking for a withdrawal. I appreciate Senator McGrath's point. He doesn't want the position, the words to which he's reacted repeated, but I don't actually know which allegation, which point you want withdrawn. The general approach I would like us to take is if people wish something to be withdrawn, unless there are very compelling reasons not to, that as a matter of courtesy in this chamber we should do so. But I'm genuinely unclear as to which. There's a lot of political argy-bargy. Some things have been said by the senator behind you which I have ignored. So if the Senator Cash wishes something withdrawn as a matter of courtesy, I'll ask the minister to do so.
Thank you, Senator Wong, and I will ask Senator Watt, one, not to repeat comments you made, but if you believe that you made comments directly related to Senator Cash, then I would ask you to consider to withdraw those.
I withdraw.
Thank you. And you have 11 seconds remaining.
Thank you, President. As I say, this government makes no apologies for consulting both unions and business about important workplace relations reforms. The former government didn't do it. They don't understand the need to do so.
Thank you, Senator Watt. Your time has expired. Senator Wong.
I ask that further questions be placed on notice.
Thank you.